Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. The rarest men are the ones who stay true to themselves in a world that keeps asking them to perform. That is the Sigma male. Quiet, grounded, and impossible to copy. He is not trying to charm his way through life. He is not putting on a show to win people over. He is not lost in trends or expectations. What women notice first is not something loud, it is something real. Sigma males carry themselves with a different kind of energy, one that is calm but sharp, present but detached. They are not chasing attention or validation, and that absence of need makes them magnetic. In a world where so many are performing, the Sigma male's honesty stands out. Women feel it immediately. It is not about looks or charm, it is about presence, precision, and peace. This kind of man thinks before he speaks, watches before he reacts, and moves only when it matters. And because of that, he creates an emotional space that feels different, not colder, just deeper. Women feel like they're meeting someone who cannot be swayed, cannot be rushed, and cannot be figured out too easily. So if you are a Sigma, understand this. You are not quiet because you are weak. You are quiet because you are focused. You are not distant because you lack emotion. You are distant because you protect your peace. And the right people, especially women with depth, see that instantly, and they never forget it. Let's dive in deeper, brothers. Number 1. He makes eye contact like he's reading your soul. It's not the kind of stare that's looking for approval or trying to win you over. It's not hungry for attention, and it's definitely not a move he learned from some charm book. It's raw, still, controlled. Like he's not just looking at you, he's looking through you. This kind of eye contact isn't loud or aggressive. It doesn't try to dominate the moment. It's quiet, but it cuts deep. It makes people pause, not because they're nervous, but because they suddenly feel exposed. Not in a bad way. More like they're being seen for who they really are beneath the surface. Women notice it right away. One second you're just talking, and the next you feel like this man is peeling back your layers with his eyes. Not to judge you, not to play games, but to understand, and that's the part that throws people off. He's not watching to react. He's observing to learn. There's no agenda behind his gaze, no shallow curiosity. He's fully present, and that kind of presence is rare. It's like having someone look at you and actually see the things you usually hide, your frustration, your strength, your truth. That's why women remember it, because most people only look at what's on the surface. But a Sigma male's gaze doesn't stop there. He's not easily fooled by appearances, and he doesn't look away when things get uncomfortable. One woman once said, "He didn't flirt with me, he didn't compliment me, but I felt more naked in front of him than with anyone else." That's the power of his eyes. They ask questions without words. They invite honesty without pressure. And once you've felt that kind of gaze, fake charm feels empty in comparison. That's not something you can fake. That's the effect of a man who has done his inner work. He doesn't need to speak much. His eyes already say everything. Number 2, he's emotionally distant, but not emotionally numb. And yes, there's a difference, a big one. Women pick up on this pretty quickly. It's not that he doesn't feel things. He actually feels deeply. But he doesn't let everyone in. He doesn't walk around wearing his emotions on his sleeve, hoping someone will notice or care. That's not how he's built. What he shows you is only a small piece of what's really going on inside. And that piece, it's earned, not given. He's not cold. He's cautious. He knows the cost of emotional exposure. He's been burned before, probably more than once, and he learned the hard way that not everyone deserves a front-row seat to his inner world. That emotional distance confuses some people. They assume he doesn't care, but that's not it. He just chooses when and where to care out loud. He doesn't open up on demand. If he talks about something personal, it means he trusts you. If he doesn't, it's not personal. It just means he's protecting his peace. Think about it this way. Some people hand out emotional access, like free samples. Sigma males don't. They're like vaults with no labels. You won't find out what's inside unless you've been let in, and that only happens with patience, consistency, and real connection. A woman might sit across from him wondering why he's not spilling his story like other guys. But what she feels, quietly, is that his silence has meaning. His calm has layers. His emotional control isn't a wall, it's a filter. And once he lets you in, it's real, it's solid, it's rare. He's not numb, he's just mastered something most people haven't. He knows his emotions, but they don't run the show. And in a world full of oversharing and emotional chaos, that kind of control, it stands out, instantly. Number 3. His energy doesn't seek approval, it commands space, and not because he's trying to. That's the wild part. A Sigma male doesn't crave validation. He doesn't need everyone to like him. He's not fishing for compliments or trying to be the most interesting man in the room. But somehow, his stillness makes people stop and look. There's something unbothered about him. While others are busy adjusting themselves to fit in, he stays rooted. Not rude, not arrogant, just steady. Like he knows who he is, and he's not performing for anyone. That alone shifts how people respond to him, especially women. They notice that he's not scanning the room for reactions. He's not waiting to be invited into a conversation. He's just present, and that presence holds weight. It's the way he carries himself. His movements are deliberate, not rushed. His words are chosen, not thrown around to fill silence. He doesn't laugh just to be liked. He doesn't join a discussion just to prove he belongs. That quiet confidence says one thing loud and clear. He's fine with or without your attention. And oddly, that makes people want to give it to him. Women find themselves curious, sometimes even unsettled. They're used to men who try too hard or talk too much. But this man is just still. And that stillness speaks louder than any brag or pickup line ever could. It's like watching someone who knows something you don't. Someone who's made peace with being misunderstood. Someone who won't trade authenticity for acceptance. That's why his energy stands out. It's not aggressive, it's not loud, but it's firm, grounded. And very few people have that. You don't have to raise your voice when your presence already speaks for you. Sigma males get that, and women notice it without being told, instantly. Number 4. He asks questions that expose the truth, not create small talk. That's one of the first things women notice when they talk to a Sigma male. He's not here to play the usual social games. He's not going to ask about your favorite color or where you work just to fill the silence. His mind isn't wired for surface-level talk. If the conversation doesn't lead somewhere real, he'd rather sit in silence. He'll ask something unexpected, something real, something you weren't prepared to answer. What keeps you up at night? When was the last time you felt completely at peace? What's something about you nobody knows, but should? That's the kind of territory he lives in. At first it might throw you off, not because it's rude, but because it's rare. People are used to being asked what they do or where they live, not what they regret or fear or secretly dream about. But once you realize he's not asking to be clever, he's asking because he actually wants to understand, you start to feel something different. You feel seen. This kind of honesty makes shallow thinkers uncomfortable. People who only want to impress or pretend won't last long around him. They'll fumble for words, change the subject, or quietly step back. But those who are self-aware, they lean in. They're drawn to the fact that he wants to know them, not just their image. It's not about intensity for the sake of it. It's about connection. A Sigma male has no interest in wasting his time on empty exchanges. If he's talking to you, he's searching for meaning. He wants to hear your truth, not your script. And that kind of depth, you feel it. You don't forget it. Because in a world full of people who ask questions just to get through a conversation, he's asking because he wants to understand the story behind your eyes. Number 5. His style doesn't scream fashion. It whispers identity. It's not loud, it's not designed to turn heads or make a statement, but it does say something. And what it says is honest. Quiet, unmistakably him. Sigma males don't dress to impress. They dress to reflect. Every piece he puts on tells a little story about his mindset. It could be a simple jacket he's had for years or a plain watch with no brand name, but none of it is random. It's chosen. Not because it's trendy, but because it means something to him. You won't catch him constantly updating his wardrobe just to keep up with what everyone else is doing. He doesn't care what the season's must-haves are. His look might even be so understated you almost miss it at first, but then it sinks in. It's clean, it's thoughtful, and it's consistent. That's what women notice. He didn't throw this together to get noticed. He put it on like a second skin, something that fits who he is, not what the world expects. One woman said it best after meeting a Sigma. He wasn't dressed to attract, he was dressed like someone who's already found what matters. That's the whole point. His style doesn't chase applause, it signals clarity. A man who knows himself doesn't need to be decorated. He doesn't wear clothes to hide, he wears them to reflect. And that quiet confidence, that lack of show, says more than 1,000 designer labels ever could. It's not about standing out. It's about standing firm. While others look for trends to follow, he creates a signature without trying. That's why people remember his presence, even if they can't explain why. His style doesn't shout, it speaks in quiet truths, and people feel it, instantly. Number 6. His presence makes others self-correct. Not because he demands it, and not because he tries to dominate the space, it just happens. Quietly, naturally. He walks in, stays centered, and suddenly people around him shift. Conversations become more thoughtful. Jokes that were a little too reckless get toned down. People sit up straighter, think a little more before they speak. It's not fear, it's respect, earned, not forced. His presence has weight. It says, I don't play games and I'm not here to fake anything. And once that energy enters the space, people can feel it, instinctively. It's like standing next to someone who's already done the hard work of figuring themselves out. You can't help but reflect on where you stand. Women especially notice how others respond to him. They watch the shift. They see how people become more intentional, less careless, almost like they don't want to disappoint him even if he hasn't said a single word. That's because his standards are quietly high, and it shows, not in how he talks, but in how he carries himself. He holds himself to a certain code, and it challenges others to do the same. It could be something as simple as how he listens. Not nodding endlessly or jumping in to speak, but actually listening, fully. Or how he doesn't fake smiles. If he's amused, you'll see it. If not, he won't pretend. That level of authenticity makes people check themselves. Not because he called them out, but because being fake around him feels uncomfortable. It's like standing in front of a mirror that doesn't lie. You see yourself more clearly. You realize where you're posturing, where you're not being real. That's the effect he has, just by showing up as he is. No performance, no pressure, just presence that makes people rise to a higher standard. Number 7. He speaks like he's already thought 5 layers deep. Nothing that comes out of his mouth feels random or rehearsed. It's not small talk, and it's definitely not for show. When a Sigma male speaks, there's weight behind his words, not just because of what he says, but because of everything he chose not to say. Women notice it almost immediately. There's no filler, no need to dominate the conversation or impress with flashy stories. He might sit quietly for a while before offering his perspective, but when he does, it lands. It's the kind of insight that makes you pause, not because it's poetic or dramatic, but because it's true. You can feel that it came from lived experience, not theory. He doesn't jump into every topic. He listens first, he watches, he reads between the lines, and then, when he finally speaks, it feels like he's bringing something to the table that no one else saw. Maybe he makes a comment that uncovers the real reason behind someone's behavior. Or he shares something personal, not to gain sympathy, but to offer clarity. And when he does, people listen. This depth doesn't come from books or podcasts. It comes from life, from pain, from learning lessons the hard way and refusing to stay blind to them. You can tell he's been through things, not because he talks about them constantly, but because you can feel the sharp edges he's smoothed out over time. One woman said, talking to him felt like therapy, not because he tried to fix me, but because he made me think differently. That's the Sigma effect. His words don't aim to impress, they aim to reflect something real. And in a world full of noise and empty conversation, a man who speaks from depth, not ego, stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. Number 8. He disappears without warning and no explanation. Not to punish, not to play games, simply because his peace comes first, and he doesn't owe anyone access to it. That can be jarring, especially in a world where constant connection is expected and emotional availability is demanded on command. A Sigma male vanishing isn't an act of rebellion, it's a return to center. When the noise gets too loud, when the expectations start to feel like chains, or when the vibe doesn't align with his truth, he quietly removes himself. No fight, no drama, no need to explain why. Because for him, presence is a choice, not a duty. Women notice this quickly. They can't place him. He's not clingy, not always available, and definitely not predictable. He could be engaged in conversation one week and ghost-level silent the next, not because he lost interest, but because something inside told him to pull back and recalibrate. He follows that inner signal more than social rules. That unpredictability isn't meant to hurt, but it challenges people, especially those used to controlling the narrative. A woman might realize she can't lure him back with beauty or guilt. She can't guilt-trip him into staying. And the truth is that mystery is part of what makes him so magnetic. The fact that he can walk away fully at peace forces others to ask why they feel so unsettled. What people misunderstand is that when he disappears, it's rarely about them. It's about self-preservation. He doesn't burn bridges. He just quietly walks across them and never looks back if he knows his inner balance is being compromised. That kind of freedom, that emotional self-discipline, is rare. And women feel it deeply, because it's not coldness, it's control. And in that silence, he says something louder than words ever could. You don't own my time. You don't own my mind. I choose where I belong. Number 9. He doesn't flirt, he studies. That's what sets him apart. A Sigma male isn't running the usual script. He's not throwing compliments around just to be liked. He doesn't lean in with pickup lines or pretend to be someone he's not just to win attention. Instead, he watches. He listens. He observes everything. Your tone, your silence, your body language, even the way your eyes shift when you're holding something back. It's not about being distant or cold. It's about focus. He's not trying to get your attention. He's trying to understand who you really are beneath the performance. While others are busy trying to impress, he's gathering information. And what makes it intense is that he's quiet while doing it. You don't always notice it right away, but after a while you realize he's already figured out things you haven't said out loud. Women feel this, not in a creepy or invasive way. It feels more like being studied by someone who wants to read the fine print, not just skim the cover. One woman said, "I felt like he wasn't flirting, but somehow I knew he saw through me." That's exactly it. His attention is subtle but sharp. He's not looking to charm you. He's trying to get you. And that can be disarming. What he's looking for isn't beauty. It's depth, authenticity, honesty without the layers. He can spot fakeness in seconds. If you're putting on a show, he'll know. If you're real, he'll lean in. But still, without saying much. He makes you think. He makes you reflect. And before you even realize it, he's already mapped out more about you than most people ever could. That's not flirting. That's a different kind of connection. It's slower, sharper, and a lot more dangerous. Because it feels like he's not just noticing you. He's decoding you. Number 10. He doesn't laugh to fit in. He smiles when he means it. And that alone sets him apart in a world where most people bend themselves just to feel included. A Sigma male is untouched by that pressure. He doesn't fake reactions just to keep a conversation light. He doesn't force laughter when something isn't funny. He won't pretend to enjoy a moment just to avoid awkwardness. If he's not feeling it, you'll know. Not because he's rude, but because he refuses to wear a mask. That kind of honesty stands out. Women notice it right away. While others are chuckling just to be liked, he's sitting there calm, unreadable, maybe with a quiet smirk, maybe with nothing at all. And then, when something truly hits him, he'll smile. Not for attention, not to prove he's friendly, just because it was genuine. And that moment feels real. There's power in that kind of restraint. It says, I don't need to perform to belong. And in a society where belonging is often based on how well you play along, that refusal to fake it is both rare and refreshing. Women don't just notice it, they respect it. Because it means when he does smile, when he does laugh, you can trust that it's real. It came from something he truly connected with, not some rehearsed need to be liked. One woman put it perfectly. He didn't laugh at my jokes, but when he finally did, I knew I had his attention. That's the Sigma difference. He's not trying to be liked by everyone. He's trying to stay true to himself. And when someone earns his authentic reaction, it feels like winning something real in a world full of fake applause. Number 11. He owns his time like it's sacred, not just in theory but in practice. Every hour, every moment is intentional. He's not someone who says yes to everything out of guilt or fear of missing out. He doesn't run around proving how busy or productive he is. Instead, he protects his schedule like it holds the keys to his peace, because to him it does. A Sigma male doesn't overbook his calendar to feel important. He doesn't overpromise to please others, and he definitely doesn't overextend just to maintain relationships that drain him. If something doesn't align with his values or mental space, he'll say no, and mean it. Not rudely, but clearly, calmly, without guilt. That kind of self-respect is rare. Women notice it immediately. They see a man who isn't ruled by pressure or caught in the trap of always being available. A man who isn't running from himself, but rather keeps coming home to his own mind. That kind of discipline creates mystery, depth, and balance, and it's deeply attractive. He values stillness, not boredom, not laziness. Stillness. That quiet space where he can think, reset, and listen to his own thoughts without distraction. He doesn't need to be constantly entertained or surrounded by people. In fact, too much noise feels like a threat to the clarity he's worked so hard to build. One woman said, "He made time for me, but he never gave me all his time, and somehow that made the time we shared feel richer." That's the effect. He's not trying to impress with availability. He impresses by being intentional, present, focused. In a world that glorifies burnout and busyness, the Sigma male treats time like treasure, and that quiet reverence for his own peace, it makes everyone else slow down and wonder what they're chasing and why. In conclusion, a man who knows himself does not need to be explained. That is the quiet power of a Sigma male. He does not follow the noise, chase the spotlight, or pretend to be something he is not. And because of that, women notice him without him trying. He does not impress, he just is. His presence speaks louder than performance, and his silence carries more weight than most people's words. The truth is, being a Sigma male is not about being better than anyone else. It is about being honest with yourself. It is about choosing solitude over shallow company, depth over drama, and truth over attention. You are not meant to be understood by everyone, and that is your edge. You are not loud, but you are felt. You are not seeking approval, but people seek your presence. The way you protect your peace, the way you ask real questions, the way you hold back until it's worth it, that all makes you unforgettable. You make people think. You make people reflect. You shift the atmosphere without even trying. And women notice that, not because you're playing a game, but because you're not. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether your quiet strength matters, remember this. You do not need to be seen by the crowd to know your worth. Keep being precise with your time, selective with your energy, and unshakable in your values. Because in a world that rewards noise, the rarest power is calm certainty, and you, Sigma, are rare for a reason. Thank you for watching.